All right. Hi, guys. Thanks a lot for having me here. So, what I'll do is a bit of an introduction to myself as an individual and to Solus, the organization that I've set up. I'm Sandeep. I'm a 2000 batch, that's the 35th batch pass out from AMCAL. Used to be called Sandy on campus, still called Sandy by everybody who knows me from campus. And as you can notice from the guitars behind me, I used to be a part of JBS Parosi, and I think I spent the 2 years on campus doing more music than any kind of time spent in the classroom. One thing that I did to however is I set up a company while I was still on campus. It was the year 2000. Coms were booming. It was a good time to kind of set up your own company. So a few of us, we kind of opted out of placements. We set up a company, two of them, in fact, parallelly. We set up a company that was developing software for knowledge management and CRM and stuff. And at the same time, we also set up a portal for rock music in India. It used to be called GigPad. It used to be a big thing back then between 2000 and 2008. After which we shut it down. MySpace took over, if any of you remember MySpace. But yeah, far before Facebook. I got into the analytics space at in around 2005. I got into the analytics space, set up a company, Cartesian, in 2009. So I've actually never worked in a large corporate. It's always been my own gig in some shape and form. In 2009, I set up Cartesian. It's a data analytics firm. We grew it between 2009 and now to like 200 people, offices in India, Singapore, and the US. Worked with over 200 clients, done a lot of business in the data analytics space, and a lot of it around customer analytics. And it's a work in Cartesian that brought us to Solus. That's the kind of natural segue into what Solus is all about and what we're doing out there. So while we were while running Cartesian, a lot of our work used to be around customer analytics, still is around customer analytics. And why customer analytics? Because when you go to a brand and you say we can help you with your data and can build predictive models and do segmentation and come with machine learning and stuff, one of the first port of calls for them is how do I get more revenue from the data that I have? And the revenue that they look at getting is from the customer data that they have. That pretty much every brand says that we've got millions of customers, we've got a lot of data about them, we're not mining that data, we're not kind of getting insights from it, and we're not extracting more revenue from the existing customer base that we have. We're constantly chasing the new customer. So solving a problem of how do you nudge customer behavior using the first party data available with a brand is something that we did over and over and over again. And for all kinds of brands, like from Domino's to, Marks and Spencer's and, Pizza Hut as well, and all kinds of retail, BFSI, QSR kind of brands, a whole bunch of them. In doing so, we spotted an opportunity that led to Solus. And that opportunity was that the intelligence that goes into nudging customer behavior, it's a very manually driven thing. It takes a team of people to build the models, to do the segmentation, to come up with that campaign trigger, to figure out who to target, when to target, with what value proposition, at what time, using what channel. So all those little decisions that need to be made for good targeted customer engagement were being run by a team. And that came with its constraints. A team would not necessarily have best practice. There would be churn in the team. They may not have all the experience or the skills. And that opportunity of changing it from team-led to productized is what we picked up and developed Solus around. So Solus, what's Solus? Coming to that. Solus is a learning system, an AI-based system for customer engagement. What it does is this. It does personalization at the segment of one level. Segment of one essentially means if you're a brand with say 10 million customers, it'll take those little decisions for each one individually. It won't start with saying, here's a segment of high value lapses. It'll start with saying, this is Sandeep. When do I target Sandeep? With which product? With what offer or no offer? Through which channel? At what time? And how long do I wait for him to respond? And if he doesn't respond, what do I do? So all those decisions that need to be taken to engage with a customer is what Solus takes. And we started building Solus in 2018. We're building it. We kind of incubated it within Cartesian itself. And we grew it from there. We launched in kind of late 2019. Obviously, last year, 2020, March to August were pretty much a wipeout because we were targeting, retail, QSR, hospitality, travel, those kind of industries. But I would say since August, September of last year, it's been quite fantastic. We're signing up about 2 to 3 new clients every single month. April of last year, we were at an ARR of about 250,000 USD. Today, I mean, in April of this year, we've crossed 1 million. So we've gone, it is, I think that's a big milestone for any kind of B2B SaaS company. We've kind of crossed that million ARR mark. And now we've got a sight set on, getting to 3 million in 12 months, and then 8, and then 16, and so on and so forth. And the way Solus is kind of being taken up by brands and clients, we've got Pizza Hut, we've got Pantaloons, we've got Alta Birla Mutual Fund, we've got very large enterprises. They bring it in, it's sitting behind what we call the system of record, which is the data source, and the system of engagement, which is the marketing automation system. So Solus is not the marketing automation system. We've got clients where the data will come in from their ERP systems, from their billing system, from feedback, from CRM, from the CDP. It'll come into Solus. Solus will do all that intelligence work that it needs to do and feed it to an Adobe Marketing Cloud or a Salesforce Marketing Cloud, or like a Web Engage or a Mo Engage or a Clever Tab. And they will then send the message to the customer, and we'll track the response and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
System of intelligence sitting between system of record and the system of engagement. And the impact that we've been able to create, just to very quickly touch upon that, and then maybe I'll pause and see if there are any other things that I should cover. We've always known that if you get personalization right, the impact is quite non-trivial. But getting it right is hard. Brands, when they work with a team, what happens is they can get capped out at we can do 5, 10, 20 campaigns a month. And it's hard to do more than that. And what we've seen is about 1 in 40, 1 in 50 is truly personalized. Why? Because pulling off personalized campaigns is really hard. So, you put all your energy, you do it once, it's not repeatable, it's not scalable. With Solus, we're taking them to do 600, 700, 800 triggers a month without increasing the amount of outreach. So it's not like customers are getting more. You're just doing much, much sharper, much more targeted outreach. So we measure metrics in this manner. We look at how accurate is our outreach. We are getting accuracy metrics of between 80 and 95%, which is like way above the threshold of acceptance for any brand. We measure nudge metrics, which is how much are you able to influence, for example, email open rate or a click rate on a Bitly. That delta has been typically between 30 and 80%. So it's 80% up from what it normally, what we've seen earlier. We measure lift metrics. That's kind of the ultimate, metric of how much incremental sales are you able to generate by nudging the customer right. And the lift from BAU versus lift after turning on Solus has typically been about 2x. So the impact is very non-trivial. So it's, I think once you're in, it's phenomenal. Brands love what we're doing for them. Everybody who's hit a year of subscription with Solus has renewed. So it's kind of, it's going well. So that's a little bit about Solus. There's a whole lot of AI and stuff that, we've got a large R&D team. In fact, the guy who heads product R&D is also IIMCAL. He was a FP student from IIMCAL, Ramsu. He's quite a legendary character in many ways. So he and his team have built out the entire stack behind the algorithms that go into Solus. We've got a very good team on sales and marketing, on, the tech side. We've got now a head of sales in Singapore, a head of sales in the US. So scaling it from here. Bootstrap so far, by the way. So we've not brought in any kind of institutional funding. But that's something we're looking at kind of getting now.
Right. Awesome. So I think that gives a good picture in terms of what you're trying to do as a customer, or what kind of problems you're solving for different kind of customers. This primarily, when you talk about 1:1 targeting, I'm inclined to say it's more B2C than B2B, or?
That's actually a very interesting point. It normally would be, and most of our clients, I would say maybe 7 out of 10 are that, it's a B2C client, like a Pantaloons or a Pizza Hut or a KFC or whoever.
Right.
We came up with a B2B use case about a year ago when we won a hackathon at P&G. So the use case was, how do you nudge the retailer to improve width and depth of ordering? So we built it out now over the last year, and now, as like P&G and Marico and a whole bunch of other CPG guys that we're talking to. Actually, anybody where the brand is interacting with a multi-brand outlet kind of chain. So it could be, we will target places like it could be a Camden and a Pidilite and a Perfetti. So CPG or Castrol, Ambuja, anybody who's dealing with a multi-brand outlet. how do you nudge the retailer to increase width and depth of ordering is a use case that runs on the same stack. So we now have these two kind of running.
Got it. Awesome. So any company which is having a large customer base may not be directly reaching to the consumers, but still is reaching out to a large customer base is going to find this useful.
They will.
Awesome. Got it. And in terms of your objectives or goals, where do you see yourself going maybe 2 to 5 years from now, and what kind of problems you're trying to solve for your own company? That is where inputs from this group might come in relevant.
Sure. So there are multiple axes on which the growth will come from. One is just a market expansion and grow the ARR and stuff. So that's the roadmap that we have for the next 3 to 5 years. One of the milestones is go from that 1 to a 3 million, 3 to a 10, 10 to a 30, 100, and then so on and so forth. Over the next 36 months, the goal we've set for ourselves is to get to a 16 million of ARR. That's purely from a revenue perspective. And that will mean, penetrating markets in India, Asia, and US. These are the three primary markets for the next 36 months. We are also getting prospects from Middle East and Europe, but I think from a setting up of the sales engine, we'll focus on India, Asia, the APAC and the US for the next 24 months for sure. I don't know whether we'll have bandwidth to do more. Product roadmap itself, while we focused on the personalization angle and there's a lot of tech that needs to go inside it, and it's not a straightforward use case. There's a lot that happens to get personalization right. There are adjacencies because if you get personalization right, you need to get attribution right. So how do you solve for good attribution, multi-touch attribution, etc.? If you get those two right, you need to also get into yield management to make sure that people don't spend too much on offers. So how do I make sure brands do offers right? Because you can get carried away with customer engagement and keep sending offers to everybody, but that doesn't help margin. How do you get your yield management right to get that? Finally, you need to then also take a step and say, can I have the AI create the content? It's something we already started doing, because I really feel that's another place where there's a lot of manual intervention and there's a lot of opportunity for tech to come in. So today, Solus can write copy. So it can write the email subject line, it can write the if you tell Solus that I want to send an email to a high-value lab, so it'll tell you 10 ways to express that. But the future is, why stop at headline? Why not body copy? Why not imagery? So how do I even create the content is another axis to grow on. And the fourth one is, which is a very challenging one, I would say, is how do you assist the senior person who wants thinking? Because that's what the system doesn't do today, or systems are not expected to do. They're not we as consultants have gone and helped people with the thought process. Can I do pattern discovery and come up with advisory, which is also automated? So there's a ton of work to be done. Our positioning was, can we be the system of intelligence? So there are a lot of adjacencies that we could kind of get into from where we started.
Okay. So imagining this as a single source of truth for multiple systems in the customer's ecosystem, is that what you mean by system of intelligence?
Yeah, but single source of truth sometimes feels like a CDP, that you're the place where the data has been kind of assimilated and there's a unique identifier, etc. That's a part of what Solus would do, but we are happy if there's another CDP in place, because what we want to focus on is the decisions. The single source of the decision making. That when you figure out that for this customer, when I should talk to, that decision should come from Solus, even if the data is coming or not coming from Solus.
Right. Understood. So largely, you have outlined two areas in terms of where you are looking to grow. One is the market expansion, and maybe there will be things like setting up a sales engine or maybe some marketing efforts that will happen around that. And US, India, and APAC are the three regions that you are looking at.
Focus markets for now, yes.
Focus markets right now. And the other part is from the product standpoint, and there is a roadmap over there in itself. Awesome. So I definitely do have more threads to catch up on. I was myself working in a content automation company a couple of years back.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the system was designed to through APIs or some spreadsheets, etc., take in information and create visual content out of it of a variety of formats.
So, very interesting.
Yeah. So I do have a few threads to pick up on, but I'll just pause and open it up for any of the other participants if they have any questions or if they have any inputs over here.
Any who would be your competitor in terms of any company that would come close to you?
Right. So sometimes the competitive landscape is, I would say, it's fairly complex. Why? I think the market space by nature is very crowded and very complex. There are all kinds of players, each one trying to kind of get into the space of the others. So one nature of competition to us is just the marketing automation system itself. We don't always see it as competition, but when I look at the decision maker who needs to, for example, buy a Solus, very often they're thinking, we just invested in a marketing automation system that comes in with a certain level of intelligence. It may not be what Solus comes in with, but it does do something. So that's part of the competition. Any marketing automation system, though for any evolved client, they will have, for example, the Adobe Marketing Cloud and Solus. So that's, that's something that they also realize fairly quickly. But marketing automation is part of the competitive landscape. In the Western markets, US in particular, there are solutions like a dynamic yield and optimizely and a Certona, etc., which do a lot more. I mean, that there's a much larger overlap. They're personalization systems, they're personalization engines. Over there, our wedges, I believe, we are much stronger when it comes to being omni-channel. So they do a lot of their work purely on the digital channel. We very consciously also look at offline data, which means the offline bill data that's happened in the store. So we also learn from that and work on that. But that's the second nature of competition. The third nature of competition is very often an incumbent in-house team, because when you're talking about system of intelligence, if there's an in-house data sciences or a CRM team that has been tasked with taking these decisions, that's sometimes just the competition. So that's the three kinds that we come across most often: marketing automation systems, personalization engines, and in-house teams.
Okay, thank you.
So like a build versus buy kind of a decision that
is it. Yeah.
Awesome. Anyone else?
One more question, Sandeep. Is there a services component to an engagement as well, or is it purely a plug and play kind of stuff here?
So we're not yet at a DIY plug and play stage when it comes to product development, because I think like anybody who's bootstrapped, you start selling before you have everything kind of lined up and absolutely ready. So we still manage the implementation and we run it for a client today. So there is a customer success team, there's a managed services team. The pricing is still just pure subscription, but as part of the subscription, we provide the people who will run it for the client. And Solus being an AI, not a workflow kind of a system, at this stage, it still needs so. Because, you don't set it up right, you don't tune the algorithms right, it won't give you the output you want. So in the roadmap, we have by October to get to a DIY version, something that can be up and running within a week, etc. Today, yes, there is a managed services component.
Okay, thank you.
Sandeep, just to understand from the customer point of view,
Yes.
what does the pricing look like? Let's say a recently started edutech wants to use your platform. Somebody who is starting, let's say, coaching for any simple competitor for Byju's, smaller ones, right? So, is the pricing based on the volume of the usage, or how does that go? Maybe a sample of.
Sure. So there's one dimension to the pricing, and that is the volume of customer records that Solus is analyzing. Because it's a segment of one solution, so everything revolves around the customer. So if you're a brand with 100,000 customers, there's a slab. If you've got 1 million customers, there's a slab. If there's 10 million customers, there's a slab. The average works out to about I think average today is $5,800 per client per month. Our annual average is about $66,000 of revenue per client. That's the average we have today. That average isn't as high as it eventually will be, because our initial sales have been, India market focused to just kind of get logos on board and things going. We now have sales starting in Asia and APAC and US. It should go north of $80,000 per client per annum soon.
Mm-hmm. Understood. Thanks.
But Sati, the point that you made of, if the brand is very new, we'll have to actually evaluate whether there is a good fit, because if there isn't enough data, the algorithms may not learn enough to do a good job. Then you're kind of relying on always on experimentation and testing. which is not bad, but is better when there is some historical data which it can learn from.
Correct. Any heuristic there is a follow-up question. Any heuristic or a ballpark number that there should be, let's say, 10,000 customers or a 1 lakh customers in a year? Any number?
Sure. I think lower than 1 lakh, it's going to be hard to build a business case from a ROI perspective.
Understood. Great. Thanks a lot, Sandeep.
And then you also work with content delivery networks, which is basically sitting between as you said, the source of the system of records and the system of engagement, right? So I think system of engagement should take care of a bunch of how to engage once based on the cookies, tracking, etc., how it should happen.
Correct. They will take care of that. So for that system of engagement, if it knows that it needs to engage with this customer, which product should it show when it is engaging with the customer can and should come from SOLUS.
Right.
The rest of it can happen through the system of engagement. If you have an offer bank of 40 offers, which offer should I make? If you have a product master of 200,000 products, which product should I show? If the person is browsing a category and you want to change the sequencing of what you're showing on that page. So those are the kinds of places where SOLUS would come very much in handy.
Right.
I don't know what's the format of this thing, but if at any point in time you guys want to see one example of how it works, I can always show that as well. It's also easy to show.
That should be fine too if you think that will answer any of the questions in particular. I love to look at new products and try out different products, so I would always be open for it.
But sometimes that penny dropping moment comes from actually seeing how it works. Tell me when you can see this.
Yes, I can see a PPT.
So when an email of this nature, if you look at the first three on the left, goes out, the things highlighted are what have come from SOLUS. What is that subject line that should go? So it's the same template, but to one customer, the subject line is a majority of investors are investing in this. To another one, it is here's what you learned from your past, and so on and so forth. The image changes, the headline embedded in the image changes, the paragraph changes, the product recommendation changes. So the delivery engine is still the marketing automation system.
Right.
This has been sent out, for example, by Adobe Marketing Cloud. But that feed of what should go in each of these slots for that individual customer is what comes from SOLUS. Or something like this. This is what opens up when the guy has clicked on a bit.ly link in an SMS. So this is gone as an SMS. There's a bit.ly link in it. You click on this and it is, hello Pratik, we first started together in 2019. This is what you bought in Bhubaneswar. Here are some recommendations for you. So these pieces of content and which template to use and what products to show, that's what is coming from SOLUS. So this is what eventually happens after you do all of that work. Is it meaningful? The click rate on a campaign like this, which you're seeing right now, is about or a little more than double of what other campaigns get. So if you get that personalization right, it is very non-trivial. That I mentioned earlier, we measure lift, right? That incremental sales or the delta.
Yeah.
Incremental sales or the lift for some clients has started touching 3, 5, 7, 8% of top line. The moment it starts doing something like that, then you've got like a CMO or a CEO in every single review because it is so non-trivial, the impact.
When we were trying to sell to similar sized customers in India, especially we were selling to Myntra and Swiggy and Dunzos over here, and almost similar ticket sizes, 5,000, 6,000 sort of an MRR. One of the key challenges that we faced was that customers did not want to use the product. They expected everything to happen independently, or because we are selling the promise of automation. They were expecting that everything just happens either through APIs or through click of a button. But of course, we had to set up a managed services team to assist the product in some ways till the product grows. Right. So, are you also having to solve for the same set of problems?
I think it is very definitely an India market phenomenon. And my theory around it, maybe right or wrong, is there's a lot of risk aversion here. And the risk aversion sometimes translates into, if you give the person on the other side a tool and you tell them you run it, then the responsibility of its failure is on them. Yes, the benefit of success is also there. People want to stay a little arm's length away from it. they very often want somebody else to blame as well. So it's almost like, don't ask me to run it. You guys run it. And if it does great, phenomenal. If it doesn't do well, I can say that, these guys screwed up or whatever it be. And so I feel that sometimes it's a bit of that, not always. I mean, it's obviously not a universal truth. But out here, for sure, we found we need managed services. People need more hand-holding. They need somebody to run it for them. You give them a dashboard, but they want you to extract the dashboard, put it in Excel or PowerPoint and email it to them. So there's a bit of that which happens. We started pilots in the European market. I mentioned earlier, Europe is not a target market, but we've got some pilots running over there. There is pure product. It's exactly that. There are APIs, the data will flow, it will happen. They look at the dashboard. We need no intervention whatsoever. It's pure product. So I think it's there is a bit of market dynamics.
Right. That may be so, and even the size of the customers, right? Like the same price point at which you are selling this product in India, an enterprise customer in the US will probably be paying you more than $30,000-$40,000 per month for a similar kind of a usage, if I'm not wrong.
I would expect so, yes.
Would expect so, right? So have you also already gotten traction in those markets as well outside of India, or is it primarily India right now?
Right now, it's primarily India. Other markets is very, very new. We just initiated a kind of US GTM about 2 weeks ago. So we've kind of reached out to inside sales organizations, referral partners over there, got some setup over there, gotten a head of sales, and just about started. So the calling has literally started last week. So we know a bit how well that is going. And I'm sure it'll take us some time to get it right. I don't expect that, the first month you start calling and they start falling into your lap. So I'm sure it'll take some tweaking of the story and the pricing and the way we demo and all of that. It'll take some time.
Right. So again, because we were at a similar stage about a year back at Kubrick, so two things that we started doing. One was to adopt a more product-led growth approach. So completely let go of the feet on street kind of a sales team. Did not have any requirements for that. So did a fully product-led approach and activated the Shopify platform, and has started having an app there, and started creating an app for the users and that actually gave some initial traction to grow the product.
Questions about that, because that's something that we have on our radar. But it also feels like a very crowded space that, there'll be a few hundred other Shopify apps that seem to do the same thing. So is it possible to get meaningful traction? Is it easy? Because we're just kind of, it's something that is sitting on us right now. Should we go down that route, or is it that we spend time developing that, but you just get a few SMBs on board and it won't be anything meaningful? What's your experience been?
So we started off in May of last year, 2020, to work on this app, and in the first 2 months we got about 1,000 odd installs. So I was sort of heading the overall product development, not just the product development in terms of the product features, but more like we are trying to develop a library of content that they can use. So what we have seen is that they need libraries to like standard workflows that they can directly plug and play. And second thing which can have a very strong pull is how many reviews you end up having, and what is the number of what is the actual score that you also get.
And does it burn a lot of marketing money to get those initial installs?
No, we were doing this with a team of about 5 people, not really on marketing. They were all sort of support plus community marketing, not
Very
exactly digital marketing.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we can have a chat along this lines further if you want to talk about. I'm not in the same zone right now, but I did work on that product for about 4 or 5 months before I moved out. So could still share some of those details. Yeah. So yeah, but the other part was also on the, sorry, I'll just touch upon this, the inside sales motion that was happening, and inside sales motion was happening more as a product consultant is what we were positioning ourselves as, and we were trying to give sort of website audits or store audits to get the first conversation going, and then trying to convert those into paying customers eventually. Again, they wanted to use the product by their own. They did not want any kind of support. I think over there, the thought process is more about, if I'm getting someone else to do it on my behalf, then I feel crippled. Whereas over here, it's more like, I want someone else only to do it. I don't want to get into it. Sort of a thing.
Right. Okay.
Awesome. We'll connect again. This space remains very close to my heart.
Yeah. This entire USG team is something which is very top of mind for us right now, because having some success in India is great, but now we need to also prove it can work in that market.
Samrat, आपका भी वो है ना? You also have a very strong US motion going, right? As a manager?
No, frankly, we are more of a Europe-focused company, but US is on my cards, but not right now, because right now you know the situation. We are so I don't want to take up US at this time, but definitely sometimes maybe towards the end of the year. But right now Europe is our strength. Europe is where we are pretty comfortable with all the regions of Europe actually.
Samrat, how has your experience been with, or just checking, a new SaaS offering in the European markets? Any kind of experience or thoughts that you can share on how it's been for them?
So so there is a bit of a resistance in terms of typically now, if I take Europe, I'll tell you the regions. UK Ireland is one region, the Nordics is one region, and the Western Europe is another region, and all these regions react differently. UK Ireland, I would say, more on the conservative side. Nordics that way is quite open. Germany is quite open. Belgium, Netherlands also okay, but definitely you will have to position yourself as an company that understands the European segment. Europe, you will have to be wear the European suit and boot. So that's what I would say.
Understood. Thanks.
Yeah. So again, at Wingify as well. So Wingify is where I'm currently working. It's trying to go from about 20 million ARR to maybe around 100 million ARR next 4 or 5 years, sort of a journey. And that is where we are looking at also making some changes to our GTM motion. So far, it has been heavily inbound driven GTM motion, but now we will have to bring in some sort of outbound as well. So similar to what Samrat just said, we are going to have some local presence in the European markets is what we have decided. Also, the way we are looking at activating it is by creating small pods of maybe 2 to 3 people each. Each pod has a outbound or inbound, whichever way, inside sales development representative, an account executive, and a customer success person, maybe coupled with a product support person. And this pod is extensively focused on solving a particular use case, not necessarily working on a variety of features or variety of problems. So in the US as well, we are saying that West Coast, East Coast, and Central is different for us, because West Coast is heavily early stage sort of startups. East Coast being financial and some marketing agencies over there. So we are doing our GTM in that manner right now. There are also a few, if you want to try out some of these motions, you may not need all the resources to be done internally. So we also did collaborate with this outbound sales guy. There is this person on LinkedIn, outbound sales guy, and he runs outbound as a service, managed service. So maybe those are also some of the things that you might want to consider or experiment with if doing sales development is something that you want to deprioritize. You will have to do the demos yourself, but sales development can be done outsourced. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Super. Is there anyone else who is willing to go unmute and has any questions, any thoughts, any comments?
Sorry, I don't want to completely take over. If nobody has a question, I have one last question for Sandeep.
Sure.
What about the legal aspects from a perspective of outside, because you're dealing with data, so that taking care of all that? I mean, or is it something which on a case to case?
Yeah. So it's something that's we've in my working life I've had to deal with it all through my career. Data analytics means you're dealing with first party data all the time. From a Solus perspective, the way we built it is, first of all, no PIP comes into Solus. So everything is kind of hashed or kind of encrypted. And second is, for clients who are very sensitive about data privacy, we offer an on-prem or on-private cloud option. So that actually reduces the barrier to entry quite considerably for someone, say, who's in BFSI or who's not willing to let data out of their servers and try it with a new provider. So you kept both the options open. And that automatically really takes care of anybody who's got a big concern with data leaving the systems.
Yeah, I have one question. I wanted to ask. So you use brands' data to give them insights, right? What about any other market trend or market insights data, third-party data that you can club along with?
Yeah, so that's again something on the radar, because we started with the India market. It's there are no easy sources, and I'll tell you where the complexity is. If I get market information which is at a very aggregate level, but the system is taking decisions at the individual customer level, using aggregate information to take a decision for Mr. Devrapalli actually does not come easily. Then you're using it a much larger kind of a trend, that this is what is seasonal, or this is what happens in this city, or this is what happens in this pin code. So it's not been a big driver of any of the algorithms that we use right now for the India market. In the US market, we know at a point of time it will be a very good idea for us to ingest third-party data and kind of improve the algorithm. So we have an eye out on that, but not something we are doing immediately right now at this point of time.
Maybe the kind of the way the service is offered, or the kind of clubbing of the services, or even coming up with a new service, that kind of thing can be considered, right? Like if the trends of
Sorry, clubbing of
products and services in an intelligent fashion, or actually coming up with new offerings based on the trends happening. For example, the way like right now even COVID is happening, so health the insurance process tweak to include COVID, or even develop a specialized COVID product, that kind of.
So while that is a use case, that's today not the Solus use case. The Solus use case today is, given your portfolio of products and the offers that you have, which one should I pitch to the customer? At a point of time, if we extended that direction, that advisory kind of automation which says that this is the kind of new offering you should create, is a possibility, but not the focus area right now. I think right now the brands are really struggling with, I've got like 100,000 products and I've got maybe 50 products. How do I make sure I pitch the right one to the customer at the right time is a substantial use case for us right now.
Super. So, Sandeep, a couple of ways in which this forum has come in helpful for people is, one, definitely in case you have any hiring requirements, then we can activate that within our networks. Second, in terms of if you are looking to get an entry point into some specific customers or industry segments, that is another point where the networks kicks in. And the third part is, of course, in case you eventually plan to raise investments at some point in time. I know that you mentioned you are bootstrapped, so that's where Mr. Devrapalli is also running a hackstrap sort of a mechanism wherein he brings in those helps brings in those investments. So on these three elements, do you have any specific needs as of today?
All three are important and required, I would say.
Right.
I mean, yes, and yes is the simple answer.
Right.
Because as we are looking at expansion, hiring it's going to be there, whether it be for product R&D, definitely for sales, definitely even partnerships for generating leads, etc. Even on the second point, is going to be the toughest thing is going to be getting that first 3 to 5 logos on board in the US market. So, but honestly, business anywhere, India, APAC, US, but definitely the US market, any assistance we can get over there would be great. And we are right now in the process of trying to raise funds, so there as well. So, yes, and yes.
Awesome. So, sorry. Okay. So while anyway, so has the complete context of who are the specific people in the network who can come into play. I do have a bit of a B2B SaaS network built out over the last couple of years. So what kind of a profile that you might be looking for when you say that you are hiring? Is it a more executional level? Is it a more mid-level, or is it across?
I would say the number one, I think at this point of time, we have JDs out for about 10, 15 people. So it's a bit of a mix. Everything from, UI, UX people to, product engineering. We've got technical writer profiles out there. We've got senior developer. It's all kinds. So there's on the product and the engineering side. And also sales. I think hiring the right sales guys is probably one of the toughest ones. And that's the one where we're struggling the most, because the number of people we meet but we don't feel comfortable enough to go ahead with is very large over there. Because maybe, I don't know whether we've not reached out to the right channels, but getting good SaaS selling skills here has not been easy for us. That's probably top of mind.
You mentioned that you already have a sales, or you recently hired a sales head. Is that right?
Yes, we did. Right. But we still want to get a few more people in.
Okay. So they will work alongside this person, or they are going to be reporting into this person?
Honestly, it depends on who we speak with. I'm quite okay with it being alongside and reporting into the founding if it is somebody with seniority. Otherwise, we'll report into the salesperson that we already have. Either way.
Understood.
Somebody can carry a quota and run with it, but yeah.
Yeah. So sort of full scale or full cycle reps, right? Not necessarily focusing on only one part of the journey, but like full cycle.
Yeah. We're too small for someone who's too specialized right now. We need someone who is able to handle the full cycle.
Fair enough. Awesome. So in that case, in अगर कुछ और questions है तो पूछ लो. Otherwise, I will ask Sandeep for some closing remarks.
Which Sandeep? Mr. Devrapalli, right? Or me?
आप दोनों कर दो. पहले संदीप देवरापल्ली कर देगा, फिर आप कर दो. सही है. This is just wanted to make a comment. I don't very often come across IIM Calcutta entrepreneurs who are growing the B2B SaaS space. I love the kind of opportunities and the kind of growth, and very excited by how this is going to move forward in the coming years. So this has been absolutely exciting for me. The weather in Bangalore right now is really beautiful, but I don't mind not enjoying that weather because of this meeting. I really enjoyed this conversation, absolutely. I'll connect with you again because some of these themes around personalization are something that we have also worked on and seen some kind of traction happening over there. So we'll stay in touch. But other than that, I think if there is something else that you would like to just see, we could do that, and then we'll wrap it up.
No, for myself, it's been fantastic. It's been great talking to you guys. And I would say it's almost like, I would say this is the introductory session, because I will reach out to you all and, speak to you all, because, while I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, a SaaS entrepreneur is a different beast altogether. And that is still new territory. So there's just non-stop learning to be had. So I will definitely reach out to all of you. Thank you very much. Mr. Devrapalli, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. It has been a wonderful session. And I'm sure even many of you here have enjoyed this completely. We are going to record this session and post it on YouTube so that a lot of others can also take advantage of what has been discussed here. We are calling it the Founder Speak series. We already had one founder so far. We wish to do a lot more of these. And right now our focus is clearly on the Cal alumni, so that we want to see what alumni are doing, how we can help each other, and really quicken things, grow and help them succeed faster, in a much faster manner. And thank you so much everyone for taking time out of your busy schedules and testing times. Please be safe, and please reach out to us, and please be connecting to us for any kind of help or support. If anyone has any question or something, please reach out to us. Thank you, Sandeep, so much for your time.
Thank you.
I'm sure you're very busy, but really, the kind of insights you shared surely should be helping a lot of other entrepreneurs building.
Your founders find time for important things. That is what I have learned.
Yeah, always.
Thank you.
Sandeep.
Thanks,
Yes,
everyone.
bye.
Have a good
Thank
weekend
you.
ahead.